Good morning. Welcome back. I had a few things to mention from yesterday. So, I guess what's currently due right now is the introductory form, which I think, let me check, 35 people have turned in, and uh, the after class work from yesterday, which 26 people have turned in. So hopefully, it was technically due 3 minutes ago, but today I guess we'll give you a pass because I didn't really specify that. So just try to get them done before next day's class. So make sure you try to finish yesterday's after class work as well as today's when I post that. What else? Oh yeah, so when we're having these discussions and when we want to, if you want to talk, please raise your virtual like Zoom hand, so then we can call on people. Yeah, that just makes things a little more orderly, and then we can try to facilitate better discussion. So it's not just like a few people talking. We try to get everybody to talk, have a broader range of perspectives. What else? Yeah, so I just want to a major thing is trying to see more people participate in class discussions. The other thing is if you want to ask any questions, feel free to raise your hand, raise your virtual Zoom hand, or because I can't see the chat while I'm sharing my screen. So send any requests or questions to Matthew, and then he'll try to pass them along to me. But yeah, that's.
Can we all please have our last names in? It'll make it a lot easier for me to take attendance. Thank you.
Oh yeah, and the other thing is, remember from yesterday, keep in mind we are keeping track of attendance, and volunteering, participation in class discussions, that kind of stuff, as well as cameras, I think. Yeah, so all right, let's get started. So today we'll be taking a deep dive into the banking system from a personal finance context. So a lot to cover today, so let's just get right into it. So firstly, we'll be revisiting our discussion on saving money from yesterday and go into greater depths on the subject. And then next we'll talk about interest, kind of what it is, and then different types of bank accounts and payment options. And then finally, we'll finish with the budgeting simulation games that will apply what we've learned today. So saving money. Essentially today we'll be revisiting the third pillar of financial literacy in much greater depth. So if you remember what we discussed yesterday, you'll remember that saving is an integral part of financial stability and achieving your personal goals. Some major important financial goals that we probably all share are, number one, saving for emergency funds so that we'll be able to cover unexpected time-sensitive expenses when they come up. Planning for retirement, saving for a major purchase like a car or a house, paying off personal debts, that kind of stuff. So I have a discussion on saving. So my first discussion question to you all is, what are some reasons why you would want to save money? And feel free to participate by raising your virtual Zoom hand. Here, Angela.
In case I guess if anything happens with health also, if say one of your family members suddenly becomes sick.
Yeah, exactly. Unexpected medical expenses are a major reason why you might want an emergency fund, because medical bills are expensive. That's exactly right. Sean?
So you can also save money for a big purchase and to pay off debts, it says in the presentation. But also if you save money, then you're technically prepared for anything. You need an emergency fund, and pull it off from your savings. You need to buy a car, then pull it off from your savings. So it's really handy. If you don't save money, if you suddenly broke a leg, then you can't really do anything about it.
Yeah. Why I can't suddenly see names. Hold on, Stanley.
Yeah, definitely retirement. You don't want to be working when you're 70 or 80. You want to be able to you have a pension going in, whether or not it's from a union or you establish that yourself with the 401k.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, and we'll go into saving for retirement later as well. For those of you who are interested in that. Nav?
I think you should save so that way it's not just about needs that like if you want like something, you have to save for it. Because like if your like daily paycheck is $10 and you want like if you want something that's like $30, you have to save up for it like 3 days. But it's also really for needs. Like, let's say you're driving and then you get into a car accident. You need an emergency fund, so you're saving to like make sure that you're undercover and you won't have to walk around with a broken leg.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. And then I can't see the last name here. I don't know why my Zoom isn't showing names, but Matthew, can you see who's raising their hand?
Yes, that's Marco.
Yeah, Marco, go ahead. Sorry.
For insurance for like houses, if you accidentally like mess up your car in an accident. Also, if you have a business and it kind of fails, then you can have like backup money.
Yeah, exactly. You know, life is there's going to be unexpected things in life, and you're going to have to pay stuff that you didn't think you were going to pay. So saving money is a huge part of that. So then my next question, and this really leads into it, is you know, how should you save money and what methods are most effective? All right, Nav.
So what I think would probably be most effective is like if you open a saving account in the bank or something, maybe keeping it at safe. Like if I get $20, maybe I'll put like $5 or $10 into my saving every day, like daily, just taking out of your daily paycheck to put some in your savings.
Well, what is your savings exactly? Like, is it like a physical space? Where are you placing your money?
Like, I would think that you should place it in the bank, maybe, like drop off. Like what I would think is most effective for a saving is like going to the bank every day and just depositing $10 just in case you need it for emergencies.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
just
that
gonna
kinda hits
say
on
that
it.
I kind of disagree with that idea because if you go to the bank every day, then you're probably gonna lose at least like 10% of that money in gas.
Okay, well,
So maybe not like every day, but
all
like
right,
maybe
Sean,
like once a month.
we'll explore going to the bank later on. Esther?
It's probably best to save money in, like the previous person said, in a savings account with the bank because they give you interest.
Yeah, and then we'll explore that in much further detail later on. And the savings account is a very specific type of bank account that we want to distinguish. Let's see. Marco, is that a hand?
I would say make a separate bank account and then like every like 1 to 2 months deposit like 10% of what you got. Or you can make like a trust fund.
Okay,
That's what I
those
was
are
about
both
to say.
viable strategies. All right, good stuff. All right, let's keep going. So when it comes to saving, a really important skill to kind of master is being able to budget effectively, right? So budgeting in essence is, you know, planning the planning of how one allocates their money in a specific time period. So the question is, you know, how do you best budget your money? And it really depends on it really depends on your specific situation. But a general rule of thumb to follow is the 50-30-20 rule, which dictates that you should dedicate around, you know, 50% to the essentials or your needs, you know, 30% to the non-essentials or your wants, and then saving the remaining 20%. So as a reminder, you know, needs are those bills that you must absolutely pay, you know, the expenses that you must absolutely pay, and are the things that are necessary for survival. So this includes, you know, paying for rent, paying for like, you know, mortgage payments, auto loan payments, groceries, insurance, healthcare, you know, utilities. These are your quote unquote must-haves, right? And then wants are all the things that you spend money on that's not absolutely essential. So this includes, you know, dinner and movies, you know, new handbag, tickets to sporting events, you know, vacations, ultra high speed internet. Anything in the wants bucket is really optional if you boil it down. So if you want to reduce those expenses, you can also, you know, for example, you know, you can work out at home instead of going to a gym and paying for a gym membership, right? You can cook instead of eating out, or you can watch sports on TV instead of getting tickets to a game. And then finally, the final 20% should go into your savings and investments, and we'll talk more about investing on Friday, as I mentioned earlier. This rule is going to be, I think, something that you should all keep in mind when we're playing the saving simulation game, because I found it to be really effective when using it. So one thing that came up yesterday in our discussion was inflation. So I wanted to go over this important concept so that everybody will understand. So inflation is defined as the decline of purchasing power of a given currency over time. So what this means is that over time, money usually loses its value. Yeah, so there are many potential causes of inflation, but the two major categories are as follows. So cost push inflation occurs when production costs of goods and services increase, meaning that it costs more for producers to offer their products, right? So for example, a sudden drought might cause, agricultural goods to suddenly to be in short supply and cost more to produce, right? So this in turn may cause producers to raise the prices of those goods and services. There's a drought, there's not as much agricultural products, lower supply, higher prices. That's inflation. Meanwhile, there's another type, demand pull inflation occurs when an increase in demand for a wide breadth of goods and services causes prices to increase. So usually a healthy rate of this type of inflation is a good sign of economic growth. And can anyone tell me why this type of inflation is an indication of economic growth? Okay, Sean.
If a demand and pulling inflation occurs, then there's going to be like more factories to produce the good. Like I believe like fidget spinners in 2017-ish were hot, so there's probably going to be a lot of factories producing it, and a lot of stores that are going to sell fidget spinners. So the economy is growing by making more money off of these things, the products that everybody wants.
Okay, I think, no, I understand the connection with, having this type of inflation and the economy growing and more people producing more stuff, but it's not exactly what I was looking for. Marco?
It means that more people are buying services, you get more jobs because you have more people asking for more stuff. And it also means money goes up because more people want this item or person or service.
Yeah, that's kind of basically it. Sarah, did you have anything to kind of add?
I was just gonna say that like if there's a lot of people wanting to buy a large variety of goods, it means they have the money to be buying the goods, which is a sign of economic growth.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was looking for. So basically, this type of a healthy rate of this type of inflation is a really good sign of economic growth because it shows that people are gaining wealth, right? And they're able to demand more goods and services. So the Federal Reserve, I don't know if you guys know this, but the Federal Reserve, which is the central bank of the United States, they set the target inflation rate for the United States to be around 2% a year to kind of reflect this growth. Here's a really good visualization of how inflation has impacted the price of a cup of coffee over time. So in 1970, 51 years ago, a cup of coffee was only 25 cents. Now it's $1.59. So this means that money has approximately become 6 times less valuable. So this is pretty drastic change. So my question is, what impact does inflation have on your savings, right? What does it do? What does it do to your savings over time? Sean?
You might need to save more money because if I kept saving, let's say if my wage was say $10, $10 a week or something, which is pretty bad, but $10 a week. And if I saved maybe $2 every week, then somehow this new hot thing comes and money suddenly becomes less valuable, then like my $2 are not even going to be worth a lot. So which means I have to keep saving more.
Right. Right. And even those savings, though, are going to be worth less over time, right? Nav?
I was going to say the exact same thing. But so if you, like he said, if you get $10 a week, which I don't know what you're working at, but if you get $10 a week and you save $2, but and you're a lumberjack, and suddenly the prices on wood grow high, real life example, then your savings are worth your savings will start going up because see, I mean, kind of if you like save $10 and now you're getting $20 instead of $2, you'll invest $4. I guess that's what I got. I guess.
So, I mean, what does inflation do to your savings though? Like the money that you've
But,
already
like,
saved.
if you have like $30 and then like suddenly there's a huge inflation, $30 is only gonna be worth like a cup of coffee instead of a shirt or something.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. So
Money is worth less during inflation.
yeah. Sorry, I don't know who said that. But yeah, that's basically it. Brandon.
It makes your savings less valuable, I guess.
Yeah, that's the main idea. So I have another question for you all. What can we do to counteract the effects of inflation rate? So to answer the first question, it's really, inflation, to put it simply, causes the value of your savings to reduce. It erodes your wealth over time. So what can we do to counter the effects of inflation? Andrew.
No, you can save your money in a bank account so you get like the interest, which is basically a bit of extra money.
Yeah, no, I think that's true to an extent. But as we'll see, oftentimes the interest rates offered by banks do not exceed the inflation rate. So even though you're gaining an extra bit of money from interest, and we'll talk more about this concept, I guess basically like almost right after this, it's still not enough to beat inflation. So does anyone else have any suggestions? Angela?
You could also like invest, even though it might like be a bit less safe of an option, but
No.
like the money will also like grow as the economy grows, money, stuff.
No, yeah, that's exactly right. So we try to investing is proven to be, the best method to counter inflation, because usually when you invest in, at least, and we'll talk more about, what exactly to invest in, but when you invest in the right investments and, they're not too risky, you're able to usually outpace the rate of inflation. So thank you, Angela. Sean?
Yeah, you can invest in bonds, which is completely safe, so that like the money grows over time. So it should at least match the rate of inflation by investing in bonds.
Well, bonds aren't exactly safe, right? There's risks that come with bonds, and we can discuss that more on Friday. But yeah, that's true. Bonds is a type of investment vehicle that you can try to invest in. Nav?
You can save more money, probably the most simple one. Because if you say, you're saying that what can we do to counteract the money of inflation? Oh, I thought that savings, but what you could probably do is like, I don't know, like get more money, or like if you, like, I don't know, work a part-time job, probably.
Well, my question isn't really about, how do we gain more wealth, even though inflation is eroding it, right? And that's easier said than done, right? Trying to immediately get more money, trying to save more, quote unquote. I think investment is really the best answer, because you're already working with what you have. It's not easy to say, oh, I'll just save more money, because it's hard to do that, right? You still have your other, if we're following the 50-30-20 rule, you still have the other 80% that you have to dedicate your spending to. So yeah, I think investment is still the best answer. It's really hard to try to save more given your financial situation, if that makes sense. Stanley?
Probably gold as an investment, or gold, silver, something like that. I mean,
Yeah,
that is
yeah, precious metals, type of commodity, type of investment vehicle, and that's something we'll discuss as well. But yeah, no, that's true. That's one thing that you can invest in, and this all falls under the branch of investing. Marco?
You can invest in something that a lot of people want, or like you see something rising up, you can invest in that. Or also you can try, if you have a business, you can increase the price of everything just by a little more, just to beat inflation.
No, yeah, I guess. What was your first point again? Sorry.
It was investing in something that's like really popular that you think will be really big.
Okay, yes. I like that. I like the second part of that answer more because that's called growth investing, where you think that something is going to grow in value, and then you invest in it. The fact that the fact that an investment is popular though does not mean that you should invest in it. It's like trying to build hype, right? It's not like GameStop or anything. But the second point, no, I think the second point that you're making really hits home.
I have a counter argument for the first one. I also hear that fads last like a short amount of time. So I guess that the first point I think is a bit risky.
Yeah, and that okay. Nav, did you have one final thing for us?
Oh, I can't think of anything.
Oh, sorry. No, your hand is raised. That's why. Okay, but no, that's really good, and I think we really kind of hit home. So answer to the first one is it erodes the value of your savings, right? And the answer to the second one is investing. You want to invest, but we'll talk about that more on Friday. We'll get back into savings right now. So let's talk about interest. I have this little video for you all, and I'm realizing now that I forgot to share with sound. So let me do that. And please let me know if you can't hear it.
Wait, just a quick thing to say. Everybody has their camera off. The video resolution would be better. I don't know where I heard it from, but I heard it from my class.
Okay. Can you guys hear that?
So what is interest? Put simply, it's the cost of borrowing something. In this case, money. So depending on who's doing the lending and who's doing the borrowing, you may be paying interest. Or earning interest. When you deposit your cash into a bank, they pay you interest for borrowing your money. All banks tell you the interest rate you'll earn as an annual percentage yield, or APY. This rate matters, even for products like savings accounts, because rates can vary significantly across banks. Some savings account interest rates are as low as 0.01%, while others are as high as 1%. Say you had a $5,000 balance in your account. The difference between 0.01% and 1% is 50 cents in interest versus $50.23 over the course of a year. But how do banks calculate this interest? Let's assume you keep that same $5,000 in your savings account, and the bank pays 1% APY. At the end of the first month, you would earn $4.17 in interest, which is then added to the balance of your savings account. You continue to earn interest on your balance, and as your balance grows each month, so does your monthly interest. This is called compounding interest. At the end of the year, if you add up all your monthly interest payments, you will have earned $50.23. To learn about how much you could earn in interest with a savings account, click here. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
Okay, that was a brief introduction of interest. Let me Okay, we are back. Raymond, you had a question? Nope, guess not. Okay, so to kind of summarize what the video was saying in the most basic terms, so you are able to earn periodic payments known as interest by depositing your money into the bank. So the amount of money that you are paid is determined by the interest rate of the bank account that you deposit your money in. So the higher the interest rate, the larger the number that you see as the interest rate, the larger the interest payments. So here's an example. So for Bank A, if you have 0.06% interest rate annually and you deposit $10,000, well, then you're going to earn $6 of interest. So then in total, you'll have $10,006 at the end of the year. Bank B, if you have 0.2% annually, which is quite generous, I think, for these savings accounts, $10,000 and then $20 of interest. So you see how the higher the interest rate, the larger the interest payment. So yeah, and this is something to keep in mind of these calculations of percentages are also something to keep in mind for investing, even though they're not interest rates and they're returns. It's kind of the same thing, or rather the same concept mathematically. Nav?
So you know how the bank will borrow your money? Like, do you have a say in it? Do they say, okay, we're gonna borrow your money, so here's your interest rate, or can you say no, keep my money aside?
No, so I mean, you're automatically going to get interest. It's not like up for, you can't really contend it. Or rather, you can't really contest it. But what I will say is that, when you deposit your money in the bank, you have specific types, and we'll talk about this like right now. You have specific different types of bank accounts. And when you're looking for a bank account a type of bank account to deposit into, you'll know what interest rate you'll get, if that makes sense, Nav. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. Sean?
Yeah, that's what I thought too. No, I thought interest rate was a good thing, so that didn't really make sense for me. But yeah, I got it now.
All right. Okay, so let's move on to bank account and payment options. So let me go to my own slides here. So bank account types. So as we were talking about, depositing money into a bank is a very secure way to save money, right? It's much more secure than, just trying to dump all your money into like a safe in your own house, or, trying to, I guess, stuff it in your mattresses. It's really, depositing into the bank is the best option. And there are many different options when it comes to choosing a bank account to deposit money into. The most basic kind, or the most liquid kind rather, is the checking account. So basically checking accounts used for everyday spending, they allow for cash and check deposits. They link to, I don't have my wallet with me, I'd show you my debit card, but it's linked to a debit card for purchases or ATM withdrawals, and also gives you check writing abilities. And here's the important part. It offers low to no interest. So when you deposit your money in a checkings account, you rarely get interest, or if you do get any interest, you don't get a lot. If that makes sense. Nav? Oh, was that a hand?
No, I was just saying, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, so a savings account. A savings account differs from a checking account. It's, rather than used for everyday spending, it's used for setting money aside for future use. And that's pretty self-explanatory, right? So for a checking account, you're able to withdraw your money as many times as possible, usually. Whereas a savings account, you have a limited amount of withdrawals in a set amount of time. So they might tell you like, oh, you're only allowed to withdraw from your savings account like X amount of times this month. So it's a great place to store cash rather than spending it for financial goals or emergencies safely, or separate. It also separates your money from everyday spending. And then here's an important part. It offers higher interest rates than checking accounts. That being said, though, it usually does not surpass the rate of inflation. So even though you're putting money into a savings account and you're earning interest, it's usually still not enough to combat the effects of inflation. All right, moving on to the next type. So this one's a little obscure. You don't need to necessarily know this, but it's still good to know. A money market account. So it kind of combines the features of checkings and savings account, checkings and savings accounts. It's like a savings account. It gives you a limited amount of withdrawals in a set amount of time, but it also gives you check writing privileges, which is, a feature of checking accounts. It offers higher interest rates than savings or checkings accounts, and it is useful for short or long-term needs. So it's kind of a hybrid, if that makes sense. And then here's an important one that I think you should know, and this is something to keep in mind for Friday when we do the investment simulation game, a certificate of deposit. So it resembles a savings account because it holds a set amount of time for a fixed term, but it's like you put in a specific amount of money and it will be like, oh, we're gonna set this money aside for 3 months or 5 months or 10 months or a couple of years. And if you withdraw that set amount of money for that set amount of time before the maturity date, the maturity date is basically when it expires and you get your money back. You're penalized for that, so you have to pay more to get the money back. But these offer even higher interest rates than any of the previous accounts because it's set. It puts your money aside for a set amount of time, so you don't even have access to it. So CDs are really best for saving for financial goals with a planned end date. So for example, if I'm planning for like a summer vacation for next year, then I might put in a 1-year CD right now. So then I get as much interest rate as possible. I get as much interest as possible because of its higher interest rate, and I know I know the money that I set aside is gonna mature before I go on vacation. So there's that. Are there any questions about these 4 types of bank accounts? Sean, I see a hand.
Yeah, let me get this straight. The money market account has more interest than the saving and the the saving and the check account.
I believe so. Yeah. Those usually differ though. So it's really the type of account that you get. And different banks offer different types. So when you're choosing an account to put your money into, you really want to check the interest that you earn. So yeah. Any other questions? Stanley?
I remember hearing my dad talk about this once, but aren't banks required to get some type of insurance if they were to go bankrupt? They were it's like if a bank were to go bankrupt, everybody in the bank would get they would get their money up to $250,000 back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're talking about FDIC insurance. Yeah, that's the thing. So basically, if the bank goes bust and they can't back their payments, then everybody is guaranteed up to $2,500 of their deposits. Yeah, that's true. Thanks. I don't know. Andrew?
I'm kind of confused how the money market account works.
Okay, what part are you confused by?
What do you mean by the check writing privileges and those things?
Oh, we'll actually get into checks in a bit, but basically what you need to know right now is that check writing privileges are something that is usually reserved for checkings accounts, but they're usually not something for savings accounts. We'll go into checks right after this, so just keep that in mind.
Okay.
Yeah. Esther?
So I have a question about the FDIC insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Is that for each individual account you open, or is it for
pretty sure it's for each individual account. I don't think it's individual based, but I can look it up. Or you can look it up. I don't think it's not something that's particularly important right now. But I'm pretty sure it's by account.
okay.
But that's, yeah, I can, I'll write that down right now, and then I can bring it up tomorrow. Thanks. All right. If there's no more questions, we'll move on. So let's quickly go over payment options, and then we have a savings game that I want us to all do. So let's go. So whether you are sending money or receiving money, there are different options for payment. So here are the most common payment types to understand. So cash, very simple, right? We all know what cash is. So cash is just money in the forms of coins or banknotes. And then here for you, Andrew, checks. So checks are basically written, dated, and signed instruments that directs a bank to pay a specific sum of money. Depositing a check at a bank causes the funds to be drawn from the pair's linked bank account. So this is kind of what it means. So let's say I have a checkings account with $1,000. And Andrew, I want to give you $200, but I don't have the cash, right? So I have checks that link to my checkings account. So I write a check to you for $200. I give that to you. But the moment I give that to you, nothing happens. But when you go to the bank and you give them the check, when you cash in the check, that's when they route $200 from my checkings account to whatever bank account that you want it to be routed to. So if that makes sense. So that's what checks are. And that's the main feature of, that's a primary feature of checkings accounts. That might also be something that different money market accounts have. Okay, so two more payment options. So debit cards. So this is a payment card that deducts money directly from a pair's checkings account, and it can be used at ATMs to withdraw cash. So this limits the need to carry cash or physical checks for purchases. So very simply, I'm out for dinner. I don't have cash on me, but I have my debit card. I swipe my debit card. Dinner might cost $20, and the moment I swipe that debit card, $20 from my checkings account in the bank transfers to the restaurant. Pretty simple there. What's not as simple are credit cards. So credit cards are a payment card that allows for the borrowing of funds from a financial institution to pay for goods and services. And we'll talk more about borrowing, I believe, tomorrow, or rather Thursday. I think both days, actually. So what really happens is card holders must pay back the borrowed money, including interest and additional charges. Oh yeah, so I said specifically here more on credit cards on day 4. So I'm at that restaurant. I swipe my credit card. Nothing happens to my bank accounts. But what happens is on that credit card, it kind of marks, oh, like Ryan now owes $20 to whatever institution that credit card's from. Like, for example, let's say I have a Bank of America credit card. So now I owe Bank of America $20. I don't have to pay it immediately, but by the end of the month, that's what they charge me. And if I don't pay that, they're going to charge interest on that. So that's when you start getting credit card debt. And that's something we'll talk about more in depth on Thursday. Does payment options make sense to everybody? Does everybody understand these 4 payment options? Any questions? Okay, great. Let's move on. So what time is it? Okay, we have, let's see, a bit of time. Budgeting game. So here's a budgeting game for you all, and it's actually quite fun. Or at least I actually failed the first time, and I don't even know. But basically the overview of this game is, Enzo is this magician, and you have to help manage his budget, reach his savings goal to make it to Vegas. So he's a traveling magician. He needs to get to Vegas, and he has to save for that trip. And here are some tips before going into the game. I don't think I wrote that right, but basically, look to budget about 20% of your earnings as savings to Vegas, and also make sure to keep track of all these different meters, which you'll see: hype, morale, and maintenance, because if those go too far, the game kicks you out and you lose. So I hope that nobody loses here. I hope everybody follows the 50-30-20 rule, at least roughly. But let me send the link to this game right now. Yes, Sean?
This is kind of dumb, but if I just spend instead of the 50-30-20 rule, if I do maybe like a 50-45-5, then I guess it will take longer for me to save, but chances are the hype, morale, and maintenance won't really go down that much.
All right, well,
what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, you'll see how the rule might apply, and then of course, savings, as I was saying earlier, savings is really on a personal basis. So you might not follow the rule exactly. But yeah, Andrew, you had a question. Okay, before I get to Andrew's question, I'm putting in the link to the game right now. So everybody get on that game. and start immediately because I don't know how long it takes, but I'm trying to finish on time here. And then I want to have a discussion afterwards about the game. So, yes, Andrew.
What is the hype, morale, and maintenance fee?
Oh, you'll see once you get into the game. Pretty self-explanatory, but what I'm saying now is that you have to keep track of those meters. Otherwise, you lose the game early. And I actually lost the first time I played this game. So, all right. So is everybody in the game right now?
Yeah, I'm on the game.
All right, perfect. Let's see. It is 11:45, so please come back to your cameras, pause the game for a second, and Matthew will send out a link to the game afterwards so you can keep playing as well. But in the meantime, I want to have a brief discussion of the game, how it went, and what were some takeaways that people had. Yeah, feel free to raise your hand to speak. Oh, Stanley.
At first, I didn't really put much money towards maintenance, and that really hit me later when I had to put a bunch of money towards that and take that out of the fund.
Yeah. Esther.
Okay. At first, I spent like 20% of my budget on advertising, but it turns out I didn't need to spend that much.
Yeah, I mean, it's really about, you really learn as you go, right? What's effective. So maybe when you play the game again, you'll know. So it's very similar with life as well, right? Like you'll know what you need to spend money on and what you can cut down on. So yeah, thank you. Andrew?
At first, I didn't put much money into advertising and I didn't pick the shows well. So like my hype was almost gone, but then I just put more money into advertising and then picked the shows better and then it just went up again.
Yeah, it's really about that balance, right? Thank you. Nav?
My upkeep was like out of the roof, and like I spent too much money on advertising. So they said that so in the reviews, quote, they said that he talked too much and that he should get to that. So I spent a little bit less and a little bit more into I spent a little bit more into Magic Shop and on those leads because the morale started falling. So I put more into those leads, and I also needed to put more into Magic Shop because my upkeep was completely the bar completely went off.
Mm-hmm. And it's really about that balance, right? So, thank you. Teddy?
At first, I put a lot of money into the personal needs and not much money inside the advertising, and I put a lot of money in the show. But then I didn't put much in the maintenance. But then later I put more money in advertisement, and they say that the maintenance was even worse. And then I put more money in maintenance, and that there wasn't much advertisement.
Yeah, very similar stories across the board, I guess. So yeah, I mean, thank you for joining us. I did the answer to the question about FDIC insurance. They actually updated. Here's a link if you're interested. They actually updated their limit from $2,500 to $250,000 as of 2021. So there's something to read about if you're interested in that. So yeah, very interesting updates. So yeah, that's all I have for you all today. Tomorrow, I'll send out an agenda for tomorrow. Please keep track of after class work. So yeah, thanks for coming in, everyone, and I'll see you all tomorrow.
Oh wait, I missed the part where you talked about classwork. Well, what's the classwork?
Oh, if you check on Google Classroom,
okay,
you should be able to see everything, and just make sure that at least try to turn in the classwork before next class, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah,
thanks, Ryan.
Pretty straightforward.